Greetings, everyone. I hope you're fine. I hope you are doing well. I would like to appreciate you for taking this moment, this time to watch this video. In this video, I just want us to go through the interview that Robert Mugabe had with one of the CNN journalists.
Consider white Zimbabweans to be Zimbabweans?
Those who are naturalized and have citizenship, yes.
Those who've been living there for years and years and years?
But historically.
Right.
Historically,
the people who
they have a debt.
Contributing to farming, historically they have a debt to pay.
Yes, the land, they occupied the land illegally.
What I like about him, he was a very straightforward leader. They occupied the land illegally. But it seems as if the journalist didn't believe that these people occupied the land illegally. Why? Because she didn't care about the effects of colonialism, the injustices. She was only concerned about their interest. But I just want to begin by saying the history of Zimbabwe is just a bit similar with the history of South Africa, especially when it comes to how they got their independence. Bear in mind that these countries, they have to prepare you first before you can become a leader in that particular country. Why? Because they want to protect their interest. So that is why here in South Africa, they had to prepare for 1994. They had to prepare 1994. In other words, they started preparing for 1994 even in the 70s. So Zimbabwe got their independence in 1980, if I'm not mistaken. So the first leader was Robert Mugabe. And I believe that there was a time when they had to prepare Robert Mugabe. Why? Because these people had to protect their own interest. But they were caught off guard. In other words, Robert Mugabe surprised them after he took power. Maybe after a few years, he'd taken power. Then he caught them off guard. Then they got surprised. That is why you can tell that even the journalist doesn't believe that Robert Mugabe had changed. Even though this interview was after many years, Robert Mugabe had taken over, but you can tell that they were still surprised that Robert Mugabe had changed. Why? Because the system has to prepare you first. So what I like about Robert Mugabe, he started prioritizing his own people. That is why, according to my perception, he was only betrayed by African countries. The very same African countries that are concerned about Congo today, they were supposed to be concerned about Robert Mugabe, to defend Robert Mugabe in the 80s, even around 2000, when America started sanctioning Zimbabwe. So they were supposed to protect Zimbabwe by all means.
Seize the land from our people. And therefore, the process of reform, land reform, involved their having to hand over the land. We agreed upon this with the British, by the way.
Some 80% of that land was acquired after you took office, some of the farmland, and with the various certificates that mean government approval. Why are these people being hounded out of the country? Why are they being hounded off their land then?
No, they're not being
But they
hounded
are.
out.
You have to understand something about Western people. They love exaggerating matters. They love exaggerating issues. They want to make a small matter as if it's a big matter. Why? Because they're not concerned about justice. They are only concerned about feelings and their interest. So they want to justify injustices that took place in Zimbabwe, or that took place in Africa in general. So they're not concerned about justice. They are only concerned about interest, that these farmers are boosting the economy. In other words, they are also participating in the economy. They are not concerned about the effects of colonialism. So that is why even the journalist here, she was not ready to listen to the response of Robert Mugabe. Why? Because in her mind, she was she had already justified everything. So that is why she was not interested in this thing of like these people occupied the land of Zimbabwe illegally, because the colonialists, the truth is the colonialists occupied the land in Africa illegally. But the journalists and many other people, they don't want to accept that. So that is why Robert Mugabe is still the last man standing. According to me, Robert Mugabe is the last man standing. Why? Because he stood for the land when it was not favorable to do so.
The country
just
as a
done
whole.
reports
Those
about
who are in industry, manufacturing, and mining are not being
The farmers I'm talking
are
about.
not
Why
being
is that
affected.
wonderful farmland, and why are they being...
What are you talking about? We are getting land from them, and that's all. They are not being hounded out of the country.
Robert Mugabe was trying to explain everything about land distribution, but she was not ready to listen. Why? Because they are concerned about their interest. So if someone is concerned about their interest, they are not ready to listen to your views, even if your views are reasonable, even if your views are understandable, but they are not ready to listen.
Not
They're being hounded off their land.
Not just of their land.
It's not theirs.
Our land.
Even though they bought it, with the certificates of approval from the government.
But haven't you heard of the Lancaster House discussions and the agreement with the British government? Because they are British settlers. Originally, they have been British settlers. And
So these journalists, they don't want to focus on that history. That is why these people have power to erase or to delete history from social media, from everything. So that is why they want to be in control of every social media platform. They want to become in control of every mainstream media. These big companies, they want to be in control of them. Why? Because they want to make sure that the information that is published to the people is in their favor.
seizing land from the original people, indigenous people of the country.
What I can say is that most of these people are not concerned about the injustices of the past, because they always want to create this thing of like, maybe whenever you talk about your history, it's as if you are mad. Whenever you talk about certain things that happened in the past, it's as if you are mad. So that is why we should not be surprised when these journalists are behaving like this. So they were trying by all means to make people to feel like Robert Mugabe was mad. This is what they did all these years. So when I was growing up, I used to listen to many journalists and many political analysts talking about Robert Mugabe from different mainstream media platforms. They were talking bad about Robert Mugabe. So they made sure that everybody should believe that Robert Mugabe was a crazy man. This is my perception.
We agreed at Lancaster House that there would be
But they're
land
citizens.
reform.
But they're citizens, aren't they? And isn't this farming
Citizens by,
disaster contributing to your...
citizens by colonization.
This is a $1 million question. Why? Because they always want to force themselves. They come and occupy by force, then automatically they become citizens. Automatically they want to talk about peace after forcing themselves in Zimbabwe, after doing all the injustices they did to the people of Zimbabwe. But the journalist is not concerned about that. But you have to bear in mind, she has to protect what? Their interest. So that is why even now she's concerned about their interest. So Robert Mugabe is asking a major question here. Citizens by colonization And this is a fact. Why? Because they come, they do what they want to do, then after that they become citizens. They are like, now we have to live together. But at the same time, they want to be superior to you.